Today, I ranked every single soft plastic rig I can think of in a tier list for you guys to use. Let's get started. Starting off with our first rig, we have the Texas rig. Texas rigs are probably my favorite rigs as they always catch fish. They're easy to rig and they require only a billet weight, an extra wide gap hook, and a desired soft plastic. You can hop it fast on the bottom, slowly drag it, or swim in. I believe it is one of the most used baits out there, even by many professionals. They're usually used with creature baits or stick baits. They provide a more finesse action and fish absolutely love it. Texas Rig is hands down the best rig out there, starting off in the A tier. Next, we have a Carolina rig. A Carolina rig is an ancient rig that certainly catches fish. Unlike the Texas rig, it has a leader and a peg weight. It is also dragged or popped on the bottom to attract fish. They also give a finesse action that triggers slower fish. They are slightly more difficult to cast, especially with longer leaders, and I just don't find it as effective as a Texas rig for some reason. The Carolina rig will go in the B tier. Next, we have Ned Rigs. Ned Rigs are great finesse baits. They stand up on the bottom, showing a defensive position that trigger fish to bite. They're great during colder weather, but they can also be used during summer. Believe it or not, they can actually be swim like a jig head. Ned rigs always catch fish when they don't bite, and sometimes they attract the big ones. The Ned rig will also be going into the A tier. Next, we got ourselves a punch rig. Punch rigs are more common among anglers with boats, as they're usually unnecessary from the bank. They're set up to punch through thick grass, pads, or weeds to reach the fish on the bottom. Although it is one of the most effective baits in pads or grass, it requires heavy, expensive, and precise gear that a lot of people might not have, like a heavy action rod, 50 to 65 pound braid, and 1 to 2 ounce constant weights. It's a great bait, but considering the requirement of gear, it's going into C tier. Next, we got a weightless Texas rig. Weightless Texas rigs are simply a Texas rig without the weight. They give it even more finesse action and are often fished as a moving bait. You can put worms or flukes on it, pop it, and let it sink. It is guaranteed a catch. They are unresistible for fish and they are extremely easy to use. Weightless Texas rigs are going in the A tier as well. Next, we have the hover rig. They're basically a hook and a weight on the bottom that you thread through the bait to make it slowly fall. Therefore, a hover rig. They're used mainly when the fish are lethargic and unwilling to eat. By popping the bait and slowly reeling, it can entice the fish with the irresistible tail action. It's a great rig, but it's less common than many other rigs due to the minimal casting distance, as it usually only has a finesse soft plastic with basically just a hook and a tiny weight. The hover rig will be going in the B tier. Now is a good time to mention that 99% of y'all aren't subscribed. By pressing that button right down there can really help me out and hopefully motivates me to produce more content like this. Back to the video. Next, we have a shaky head. Shaky heads are used by many anglers as they give an irresistible action underwater. They're usually paired with finesse worms and the tail will shake when the angler pops in. It's a great bait, but it's not as effective, and if you see some underwater footage, it doesn't really shake. It's a cool bait, and I'm sure it catches fish, but I wouldn't prioritize it, therefore I'm putting it in the C tier. Next, we have a Neko Rig. A Neko Rig is basically a Wacky Rig, but with the nail weight on one side. It also includes the finesse action of the Wacky Rig, but has a different presentation. On the bottom, one side of the worm stands up, and the weighted side stays down. It also sinks faster and is more suitable for deeper water compared to the standard Wacky Rig. Neko rigs are good baits. I personally don't prefer them, but that's really just me. I've seen many pros use it and I'm sure it's a good bait, therefore deserving its place in the B tier. Next, we have a Damiki Rig. Although called a Damiki Rig, it's basically just a jig head minnow. It's a finesse bait that has been growing popularity over the years. The angler usually shakes it while slowly retrieving, making the tail on the middle wobble as it slowly moves back to you. This finesse tactic always catches the attention of bass in colder waters. They see it as a slow, easy target. I love the jig head minnow and I really think it deserves to be in the A tier. Next we have a Wacky Rig. Wacky Rigs are proven baits. They're simple and straightforward to fish and they just catch fish. They give an irresistible fluttering action and they just catch them year round. I really don't need to say that much. It's going into A tier. Next, we have a Alabama rig. Alabama rigs are basically a wire that attaches multiple baits to imitate a school of baitfish. They are extremely effective and they catch a lot of big fish. Although banned in tournaments in many states, many people choose to fish them for fun to target big fish. They're more difficult to throw on the bank since it's usually really heavy and easy to snag. A heavy duty rod will be required for it. It's also expensive. As a bank fisherman, due to those reasons, I will put the rig in the C tier. Next we have a free rig. Free rigs are less popular baits but they do catch fish. They're basically a Texas rig but with the weight being a different style to allow the bait to freely fall. Many people choose to throw flukes or worms on the free rig, but this underwater footage shows us that it doesn't work. With the correct baits, it allows casting distance and a slow, natural finesse fall of the lure, enticing fish to bite. The free rig will go into B tier. Next we have a Tokyo rig. Tokyo rigs are pretty new rigs. It has a swivel attached to soft plastic with the weight dropping down to the bottom. It basically allows the soft plastic to stay above the bottom while fishing. It gives a more natural presentation with the weight on the bottom and it's easier for hookup. It's rather uncommon and I would prefer a drop shot over that. It requires more special gear and I just never had luck with it. Therefore it's going to D tier. Last but not least, we have a drop shot. Drop shots are hands down one of the best cold water baits out there. They target suspended bass, they're shaked or popped in the desired water column to attract slow, lethargic, suspended fish. They're great baits and they catch fish year round. It's pretty easy to rig and fish, and it's overall a good bait. Our last rig will go in the A tier. Now, this is the final list. Overall, all soft plastic rigs serve their own purpose and they all catch fish. You can use this as a guide and hopefully learn something new. This is also just my opinion and you guys can write your opinion down below. Thanks for watching.